Jeff Zito, and thank you for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. You can follow on Instagram, celebrity_jobber_podcast, or youtube.com/the@CelebrityJobber. Streaming on iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating, and please leave a review. And if you want to check out past guests and episodes, you can do so by going to celebrityjobber.com. Before fame, these celebrities were just regular people with regular jobs. Then something happened and changed their life forever. We talk about all that stuff. If you're a fan of the paranormal, this is an episode you're going to want to check out. There's even some of you out there that think you might have a little bit of that yourself. Like simple stuff like not hearing a song for 30 years, thinking of it, and then all of a sudden you'll hear that song while you're in the grocery store. Little coincidences like that happen all the time with people. Yeah, sometimes they are coincidences, but sometimes it's because you're connected. My guest today, John Edward, is a psychic medium. He has a new app called Evolve Plus, and if you think you might be one of these kind of people, you might want to check out the app. Don't think I'm weird, but I kind of think I'm one of these people. What was John's job before he became a psychic medium? What was his first job and his big break? How the hell did he get into this business altogether? What did his dad do? His mom? What kind of jobs did they have? We're going to find out. You know him from the book and the TV show Crossing Over. Psychic medium John Edward is my guest this week on Celebrity Jobber.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and leave a review. Check out all our past episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you pod. What if these celebrities weren't famous? What would they have become? What was their first job? We're about to find out.
Hi, Jeff.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
John, I got so much to get to, and you're a busy guy, so you've got a lot of stuff on you as well. So I want to get to all of that, but I want you to tell me a little bit about growing up. You grew up in New York. Tell me about your mom and your dad and what they did for work.
My mom was a secretary and then basically an office manager for a number of companies, and my dad was a New York City police officer and a career military guy.
So at what age, because I believe you were read by, someone read your future or a tarot reader.
Yep.
She read you from New Jersey, a lady, and she told you, hey, John, you've got it, man. So did you tell your parents that this happened to you, or did you keep it a secret?
No, so Jeff, here's the cool thing. My mom, my grandmother, my uncle, my mom's side of the family, very Italian, very into the subject matter. They used to have psychics come to my grandmother's house all the time. My dad, New York City police officer, not a fan of the subject matter, actually made it a rule, make sure my son's not around any of that crap. So
Okay.
They did. They legitimately did, until my mom and dad separated and we moved into my grandmother's house, which, as I refer to it, as the paranormal hub of activity. And I had adopted my dad's philosophy. And at the age of 15, a woman by the name of Lydia Clark came, and she was like mind-blowing for everybody. But I was the kid who was making fun of everybody. I was pulling their readings apart. I was doing all the things that people now do to me, I was doing. So I have an understanding about that. I went to her and she read for me and she put me on my path.
Wow. So it was no secret to mom, but you shut up around dad because he didn't want to hear about this
Pretty
stuff.
much.
Celebrity Jobber.
It's time for Trash Day Nose Yoga with Hefty. Let's transform stinky scenarios with a joyful scent of Fabuloso. Inhale. You forgot to empty your kid's lunchbox. Exhale. A field of lavender. Inhale. Stinky leftovers. Exhale. Watermelon in the summer. That's the power of Hefty Ultra Strong Trash Bags with Fabuloso.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
So when you were in high school, getting ready to go to college, I mean, you didn't say to yourself, I want to be a paranormal or psychic, or you didn't say that, right? What did What did you want to do? What were you thinking about doing for work?
Jeff, I'm a few credits short of a master's degree in healthcare and public administration. I worked in healthcare. I started as a phlebotomist in a laboratory, and I worked my way into the administrative side of things. And that was what my career was going to be. And my wife was the person who said to me, hey, you're killing yourself working your full-time job, and then you're doing like another full-time job doing like readings. Why don't you just do your readings? And I was like, absolutely not. I'm never going to do that like for my job. Fast forward. But yeah, that was not what my intention was, because quite honestly, if I didn't want to do readings, I didn't have to do readings. Once it became my job, then I had to do readings.
Right.
And there's a very different energy between, I can do it and I want to do it, or I have to pay my mortgage now.
Right.
It's a very different vibe.
No,
and I
absolutely.
never wanted to put the subject matter in that place.
So, John, were you in that field? Were you working in the healthcare field, and what were you doing before you became a medium?
I was a phlebotomist working at a laboratory. And then from that, when I was then moving into my more, master's program, I moved into the materials management aspect of the hospital. And then I eventually wound up in the IT, where I was a client service project leader, acting as a medium, believe it or not, between the programmers in the hospital and the users on the clinical side.
Wow.
So that was what my trajectory was.
Wow. And
long story short.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Long story short, one of my clients that I had just read saw me at the hospital, and it kind of like they put the two and two together, and then people found out where I worked, and then the hospital started getting phone calls. Could they make appointments with me? It became a whole big thing.
Oh wow! What about your very first job, John? Do you remember what your very first job was? What was it?
My very first job was a gopher at a hair salon, where I started at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I would work till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I literally went for coffee, bagels, tea, for the women that were getting their hair done. And, they would send me out to the coffee shop or to the deli, and then they'd, give me a quarter. And that's what I did every Saturday. That was my first job.
What do you think it was, John, about, I know I talk to athletes or actors, but for you, it still has to apply. There had to be a big break somewhere. When did everyone find out who John Edward was? Do you consider having a big break where your name and everybody knew your story and what you did?
I think I became, and I'm going to try to say this without sounding arrogant.
Yeah, I got it.
I became known very quickly by name only. People didn't know what I looked like or what I sounded like, but I was known by name and reputation pretty quickly. Like, I think in the first couple of years. So there was a circle of people who knew me for what I do. And then a few years later, 12 years later maybe, that circle just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the local paper in New York was Newsday. They did a cover story. It became a 7-page cover story of the Part 2 Sunday section. That, I think, kind of blew the circle bigger. But it didn't change anything for me because I was only one person, and I can only see the people I could see. It just means that more people knew of me.
And your life changed forever after that story? Things were different for you?
I think awareness was different. People had more of a desire to know more about me. I think the TV show and my first book coming out, that first book probably changed things because I started doing more media. So that became a little bit different. And then eventually when Crossing Over, the TV show hit, that was another. It's been like, just like marked places. It wasn't just one thing. I was a overnight 15-year sensation.
Right. That's fun when that happens though, right?
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito. Celebrity Jobber.
Tell me all about your jobs of today, because there's so many different things you're doing. You're on the road, by the way, johnedward.net. Going to be in Tampa, going to be in Fort Myers, going to be all over the U.S., going to be in Australia. You're everywhere. You're going everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a book that's also coming out, Chasing Evil. Is this a true story? Tell me a little bit about the book.
Yeah, no, it's all true. So for people that don't want to see me live, if you go to johnedward.net/events, but John Edward, no S, johnedward.net, all my events are there. And Chasing Evil is the true story of me helping an FBI agent on some of his cases over the last 3 decades.
This is a true thing that's happened to you. You worked with the FBI.
I didn't work with the FBI. I worked with a guy by the name of Bob. He worked for the FBI. So in the same way that I tell people I can't fix them or heal their grief, but I can help them on that journey with insights and information that they can work with, that's what I did for him. So I gave him insights and information for him on his cases. So very clearly, want to be very clear, I did not work for the FBI. I worked for a different 3-letter organization called the BOB. And this book, Chasing Evil, is the culmination of that experience of most of our cases that we work together.
John, tell me a little bit about Evolve Plus TV. This is an app that you've created, and I was just checking it out. Mm-hmm. John Edward, astrology, mindfulness, grief, tarot. Tell me about this app and what it does for people.
So I hosted 2 internationally syndicated shows, first Crossing Over and then another show called Cross Country. And then I kind of recognized I'm done doing this. I want to teach. I want to help people in a bigger way. And I knew that conventional television was not going to let me do the stuff that I wanted to do. They weren't going to let me talk about mindfulness in 2008. I wasn't going to be allowed to talk about past life regression therapy or astrology and numerology in 2008 on television. So I left and I kind of forged it, pioneered it online. And evolveplusTV.com, if folks go check it out there, they could get a sample of what actually happens there. It's kind of like part social media and community. And then you have a little part Netflix because there's so much to watch. And then there's some opportunity for people to intuitively develop. But we have astrologers, numerologists. Like whenever somebody says, well, do you have a recommendation for an astrologer? Do you have a recommendation for... I have a recommendation for almost every aspect of this work. And now I brought them all together, verified them. And we've got like 15, 20 live streams where the people that are the members can watch the live streams. They're part of it. So if folks like the TV show Crossing Over, you're going to love Evolve Plus TV because you're the audience.
Celebrity Jobber.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
The Celebrity Jobber Podcast with Jeff Zito.
So, John, on Evolve Plus TV, I noticed there's something called psychic development, and there's different places. And I got to be honest with you. I know people are going to think that I'm crazy for even admitting this. There's some weird things that happen in my life. I'll say something. I'll remember a song that I haven't heard in 30 years. Boom, it pops on. I'll say something. The exact same phrase will show up on TV. Little things, small things like that. My wife's she's always astonished and looks at me. She's like, man, you're tapped in somehow. Am I? Is it pure coincidence?
Yeah.
Or tell me how there are people like that have something. Go ahead.
So everybody is intuitive and everybody has psychic ability. And the reason why on Evolve Plus TV we have that is because I want people to understand that they're not a freak. It is real. It's not a coincidence. And to help them understand that the universe is always talking to us and we're a part of that fabric.
It's amazing. It happens all the time, and she's always like, so I'm gonna go on Evolve Plus TV, see if I can develop this a little bit, John. This would be great. And great talking.
Learn more about it.
I would love to.
Thank you so much.
JohnEdward.net for all the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so now I guess everybody thinks I might be a little weird because I admitted to being like kind of tapped into the universe somehow. Look, John Edward, I'll say this. I think being a psychic medium is pretty hairy. All right. I do think there are people out there with bad intentions and it's a money grab. John Edward, I do not feel that way at all. I do feel like this guy is kind of tapped in somehow. He's talking about his early childhood. His mom was a secretary / office manager. His dad lifetime military man and a cop. And what's great about this is he says that his mom and her side of the family was all kind of, into the tarot readings and all of that. And John's dad wanted no part of it. It was like, nope, we are not talking about this. And then John found somebody who read him and basically told him that he had the gift. Over the years, he's developed this thing into his job. I thought it was really interesting to hear where he was going in life before all this. And he was in healthcare, from working in the lab as a phlebotomist and then moving into the IT department of healthcare. That was his path. So kind of asking what his big break was, he pointed to a few different times in his life. He said first, like locally, he became known in a small circle. Then he came out with a book that did rather well. And then the TV show, Crossing Over with John Edward. I'm pretty sure everybody remembers that. He said it was those three things that really did it for him and ultimately changed his life. And his very first job, I thought it was funny because I've never heard this one before. Done like 150 different episodes. John said he was a gopher at a hair salon. So growing up in New York City, the ladies would all come in and get their hair done. Then I guess John would run down to the store and get him a bagel or a cup of coffee or a magazine, and they would tip him. He said that's what he did every Saturday morning when he was a kid, his very first job. And you see on his website, johnedward.net, he does speaking engagements and readings all over the world. Fascinating guy, John Edward. And a pretty crazy line of work, right? Becoming a psychic medium. And it's worked out pretty well for John. And thanks so much for checking out another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast. Streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Past guests and episodes are online, celebrityjobber.com. Please subscribe. Would love a 5-star rating and leave a review. I thank you so much for listening. I'm Jeff Zito, and I'll see you next week on another episode of the Celebrity Jobber Podcast.